Joe Hopkins here, and why buy a budget guitar? That's the question. And, the answer, it's something that kind of ties in with my whole channel here. The whole point of this channel, right, I started it with the idea of getting to put my music out there and also primarily talking about budget guitars. Which ones are good, which ones aren't, what should you spend your money on it, and where can you get something decent at a decent price? I'm sitting here with my Firefly FFLP. It's one of my favorite electric guitars. And, why buy a budget electric guitar when you could save up your money and get like some premium brand, get something really high quality? And the answer is pretty simple, is a lot of us don't have that much money, me included. I know a lot of you guys are probably, pretty broke, or you wouldn't be watching this channel. You're watching it because, yeah, budget guitars. I want a budget guitar. And I started out watching a lot of similar channels, people that do reviews on guitars that don't cost a lot of money. Because even if a guitar is only $200, $200 isn't exactly pocket change for me. It hasn't been in the past. It sure as hell isn't now. And that's the way it is with a lot of you guys. If you actually have the money to spend, $1,000, $1,200 on a guitar, you expect something pretty good. But when you're spending $200 to $500 on a guitar, or even $100, you want to know, is this even any good? Is it a waste of my $100? Which is the whole point of these reviews. And I've done a lot of reviews on a lot of different budget guitars and budget brands in order to let you know, is this worth the money? And what do I have to do with it when I get it to make it really decent? Or is it just decent right out of the box? And I've done a lot of reviews. I've got a playlist of reviews on various different guitars. I can put a link right here if you're interested in some of them. But the truth is I spent a lot of time watching reviews on budget guitars before I bought this, before I bought my Harley Bentons, and I thought, I'm going to give the same service to the world. And what I found is some people seem a little over enthusiastic about particular brands, and I'm wondering at their honesty sometimes. And I can tell you, I'm not sponsored by anybody. Not that I wouldn't mind, but I'm not. And even if I were, even if people sent me free guitars, I'm going to be honest with you guys. And another thing I noticed about other channels, you have the ones that are really honest and give very thorough reviews, but it's almost too thorough. And the truth is most of you guys aren't going to take the pickups out and take the backing plates off and look at all the electronics and look for shielding and inspect a lot of, the finer details and deeper stuff about these guitars. Most people don't even have enough of the knowledge to know if they should or what they would be looking at. And, I know enough about guitars that I could, delve into this. And I've done that with this guitar and others and taken a look at the insides and how well is it shielded? The wood, is it what's advertised? How good are the electronics? But most of us, our primary concerns, most of us buy these guitars just to play around, for our own amusement, do a little bit of home recording maybe. It's not something we're going to be gigging with. It's not something, most of us aren't professional musicians. And it's more or less just for fun. And one of the reasons we go with the budget guitars is so that we can have several different guitars and not break the bank. Like, a Les Paul, and I've got a Strat style guitar and a Telecaster style guitar and an SG. And I've got a bunch of acoustics of different styles, a 12 string and a couple 6 strings. And it's nice to have a collection, and you can't afford a collection of expensive guitars if you're like me and don't have a lot of money. That's why budget guitars. And that's the whole point of doing reviews. And like I said, a lot of people that do really good reviews, they go into a ton of technical detail that most of you aren't really going to care that much about. What you want to know is, does it work? Does it sound good? what kind of adjustments need to be made to it when you get it, or is it fine right out of the box? Like my Firefly here, I had to do the intonation adjustments. The neck was fine. I didn't have to adjust the truss rod or anything. But just a couple adjustments, just to the intonation and the action, and that was about it. And that's good to know. That's something you need to know. Some companies set the guitar up when they ship it to you. As far as I can tell, Hard Luck Kings you can buy. You can pay for their setup, and it's excellent. Xavier, every guitar I've gotten from them is set up pretty good right off the bat. Same thing with Harley Benton. I don't know if they do like a really how thorough their setup is, but it's pretty good right out of the box. It's good enough that most of you guys aren't really going to be able to tell there's anything wrong. And to be honest with you, most of us that play professionally or semi-professionally, it's good enough. It's close enough. It's not really the kind of thing where you got to fiddle with it a whole lot. And those are good things to know. Whereas my Glary, it was $100, and it took some work. It took some truss rod adjustments. It took some, intonation adjustments. It took some bridge adjustments. It took some work to make it really not just decent, but even playable. There were a lot of dead spots. It took some adjustments to make it to where this guitar could even be played. And you need to know that. If you're spending $100, what type of other guitar knowledge do you need when you get your guitar? Be good to, maybe look it up on YouTube and decide, is this something I can do? And in my case, I'm used to setting up guitars. I'm used to working on them and tinkering with them. So it is something I can do. Some of you guys might look at that and say, well, I don't want to get a Glary because, if a lot of adjustments do need to be made, can I do it? My Firefly here, I did the adjustment so it would play better, but it was good enough out of the box. You could just pick it up and play it. It just could be better. Whereas like the Harley Bentons are pretty close to right. The Xavier is right, and the Hard Luck Kings is absolutely perfect. So it depends on what you get. If you get a Wolf or an AIO from All-in-One Guitars, they do a really good setup when they ship it out. So you don't need to work with it. Those are things you need to know when you're buying a budget guitar. And the whole point of getting a budget guitar, like this video is titled, Why Buy a Budget Guitar? Because you don't have the money for expensive guitars, right? If you had plenty of money, go ahead, buy a Les Paul and a Fender Strat and get the brand names. And, you're getting a certain level of quality, and you know that whatever company you buy it through, if it's Sweetwater or Musician's Friend, or you go to a music store, when you're paying over $1,000 for a guitar, they're going to do what they can to make it right if something's wrong with it. You're going to have a certain amount of support. With budget guitars, you don't really know. Firefly, yeah, good luck getting a hold of them. You know what I mean? So you want to know, is it worth my $200? And in the case of Firefly, yeah, I'd say it is. If you've seen my video on this, they sent me the wrong color, but I'm not that upset about it. This one looks really nice, right? It might even look better than the purple that I originally ordered. But so, that's cool. But that's not that big a deal, in my opinion, unless it's really far off or something. But hey, I'm just letting you guys know, because people ask me, why don't you save up your money and get like one really good guitar? Well, I've got a lot of really good guitars, and some of these brands, like Hard Luck Kings and AIO and Wolf and Xavier, and a lot of the better Harley Bentons, they're as good as what you're going to get from one of the bigger brands. And they really are, but you need to know which budget brands are as good as the name brands. Otherwise, it's a toss-up. I bought a Grote, and it's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's as good as the name brands. It's a $200 hollow body, and it's not as good as the name brands. But, it's pretty good. So what you need to decide is, do you want pretty good or as good as something you'd pay a lot of money for? Because there's definitely a difference. Some of the guitars I get are pretty good, and some of the guitars I get are excellent. Just absolutely amazing. And you guys need to know that. Whole point of my channel, right? You can look through my reviews playlist and find reviews on guitars you're interested in and see if you would want to buy one of those, right? And I obviously have my preferred brands, but yeah, that's the whole point of buying a budget guitar, is so that you can buy several guitars instead of one. Because for the cost of like one Gibson Les Paul or one American Standard Stratocaster from Fender, you could buy 4 or 5 budget guitars and have a collection. You know, you could have a Les Paul and a Strat and an SG and a Tele and a new 7-string whatever. But, you know, it's up to you guys. Some people really need that one really, really good guitar because they're professionals. They gig a lot. They play on stage. You need something that can handle those types of rigors. That's really, really good and really sturdy. And maybe you can get that for $200 or $300, or maybe you really need to spend the $1,000 on it. But for most of us that just play at home, most $200 or $300 guitars will do. And that's why we buy budget guitars, because you can't afford expensive instruments. I can't. My dad can't. My dad owns a couple guitars, and he has an Epiphone Les Paul because it was $200. And he has a Fender Strat. It's one of them Japanese ones with the floating tremolo that they made in the 80s. He got it from one of my brother's friends, cheap. And it's an excellent guitar. Really great. Got nothing against Fender. And my dad got it cheap. And he wanted a Martin acoustic, so he went and bought one of the little travel Martins for $400. He loves it, right? Would I spend $400 on an acoustic guitar just more or less for a brand name? No, even Martin, I wouldn't. But he wanted a Martin. Good on him. And if you guys want to get some budget guitars, there's a lot of good brands out there, right? So you don't have to spend a lot of money, and you could do like me and build up a whole guitar collection. Obviously, I've got a lot of instruments. I didn't used to until I discovered that you can get good instruments cheap. So, hey man, I love you guys. Check out some of my other reviews. See what you think of some of the other guitars, and if you'd like to buy some of them, right? Because we all want another guitar, right? I love you guys. Subscribe to my channel. Peace out, baby. See you next time.